There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. A dimension of sound.
For the 158th time, you are not getting out of here. Please let me finish the Count of Monte Cristo.
A dimension of sight.
No change at all.
What? I think I look fine.
A dimension of mind. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Merry New Year, everyone. Welcome to the fifth dimension as I do the worst Eddie Murphy in Trading Places accent in the history of accents. Happy New Year, guys. Welcome to the fifth dimension. This episode is posting on the first day of 2022. Hopefully this new year gets off to a better start. Hopefully there's no 6th of January again. Pray to God, so on and so forth. We are the fifth dimension. We do talk about the Twilight Zone in its many forms and fashions, the creative, famous series that was created by Rod Serling. The reason it's posting on the first is, to be fairly honest, it is New Year's Day, but it is also an unofficial Twilight Zone holiday, I guess you could say, because they start a major marathon that runs from like Friday to Sunday, which they show almost like every episode, which I found out today. I thought it was just like a collective amount of episodes, but that does happen today. But you can also find us on, the podcast feeds and stuff like that, like Apple, iTunes, or Google Play. Please rate us 5 stars, even though we got off to weird starts as I like to do. But, we're back to talk an episode, whether good or bad. I can't entirely tell you right now. We'll figure it out as we go along. As always, I'm joined by the two Hitachi power wands of my heart, which of course are Jacob Anders Reviews and Triv of Trivial Theater. How the hell are Nick. You guys? Happy New Year's to you.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
I got a fever, and the only cure is more Twilight Zone. Oh.
So when you hear like Triv's like what is supposedly her phone going off, now it's not actually a phone. So
it is actually my phone, but okay.
So how the hell are you guys? How was your New Year's Eve? Even though we're recording like 3 days prior to New Year's Eve, was it spectacular? How was your Christmas?
Well, judging by Triv's hat, I think she's having a great time over there.
Oh shit.
But
so how was your guys' Christmas? How did you enjoy? Did you get any good stuff?
I got a duvet.
A duvet?
Like a comforter.
Nice. Was it like a homemade duvet?
No, it was just the store-bought one, but it was really nice.
Sweet.
My other one
Keep you
falling
warm.
apart. Yeah, exactly. Keep me warm when the power wand can't, I guess.
Wait,
right.
Hold on. We got that information now. That's out there. We can't take it back.
No, you can't.
I got a camera, but yeah, had a good time with that. And yeah, New Year's is going well, I think.
Hooray.
I know. We'll
take it. We're all sassy.
You're all playing a game called
Twilight
Sex.
Zone.
Called
that too. Oh man, I should have drinking some Johnny Walker tonight instead of during Dan's What the Dub game. Oh man. So but anyways, oh god, don't talk about that. So we're back. Like I said, I hope you guys all had a good Christmas. I hope it went well for you guys. Not you two, but everybody else. Just kidding.
Wow, thanks. I can leave.
Anyway, I know you like hold that over my head. You're like, I'm gonna leave.
I've said that before leave. In my whole life. I've been with you since the start, you jackass.
That's true. Oh, Jacob, you're now the new host. I'm leaving to look up
blue waffles. Okay, waffles. Cool. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't leave. I'll leave before you. You can't.
I can't leave.
I'll leave.
See, I can't leave because I'm kind of cemented in place, you bastards.
Jeff, you're in charge now.
Yeah. He's now, hey guys, clear eye.
Welcome to the fifth dimension.
What's funny is all this kind of does relate back to the subject at hand this week.
Yes, this episode hits pretty hard when it comes to my addiction to a certain kind of entertainment, I guess you could say.
I was just going to say it's goofy as hell.
Well, that is an addiction as well. Being goofy as hell, I'm telling you. No, today we're talking about an episode that I talked about last week or whenever the episode was put out. I was late because I was sick. And I knew I wasn't going to like this episode, but I didn't realize how bad this episode was going to be with such great, fantastic humor. And that episode is season 1, episode 17, which of course is called The Fever. It's directed by Robert Florey, written by Rod Serling, featured music by Jerry Goldsmith, stock music. Production code 173-3627 and aired on January 29th, 1960. Starred Everett Sloane as the asshole Franklin Gibbs and Vivi Janiss as the very optimistic Flora Gibbs.
Wow, way to give away who they are as people.
Well, it's pretty obvious as soon as the episode starts. So yeah, this episode is a little problematic because it's just not a very fun episode. It's fun to watch in the sense of just being a humoristic episode, just being laugh out loud funny, because it goes to places that are it just goes to places. But before you guys watch this episode, I have to ask, actually, Jacob, you've mentioned it before, did you guys remember this episode at all? Do you remember anything about it?
I did not.
Like,
This is probably the most, I totally 100% did not remember this at all. So at least the other ones I'd be like, okay, I vaguely remember that. This one I blocked out or something.
I've seen this one a ton, and every single time I laugh my ass off at it. But it's been, with a lot of these eps, it's been a hot minute since I've seen them, and I just sat there and just busted a gut at how just over the top the whole thing was.
And what's really sad, and as we talk about, I don't think Rod Serling was going for that effect. I know what he was going for, because the guy of Franklin Gibbs is something I've gone through personally, and it's a really scary thing to have happen to you. But it's played for, I think it's because of the time, it's because of what the slot machine is made out of, which looks like something that was made out of like wood or something like that, the way he like knocks it around. But it's just like we'll talk about it. It's a really weird episode. It really is. It's
weird in a good way, and I do and maybe they weren't going for humor, but like it I don't know, I guess, and not knowing what reviews were like back then, but I don't know even then, given the seriousness of the topic, I still think you could look at this and say that is a really strange thing. I mean, I don't know. It's taken literal, like they take the literal thing and they kind of take it to an extreme that I think you have to look at with a little bit of humor. And knowing Rod Serling, I think that does relate back to that.
Yeah, it's a lot of camp going on in this episode, to be fairly honest.
Yeah.
I think this episode was so funny because it seemed like they just weren't trying very hard. And it just came across as like half-assed.
Yeah,
I mean, like in the end, we were talking about, this climactic thing that happens in the end is just like, that's like your first take and you went with it.
But even it's the guys at the open, you know, like the people that are greeting them, they're so nonplussed about everything. It feels like it's either not trying or they're trying for camp.
Well, I mean, there's a scene in here where let me start the story out, because I have to.
Well, we should probably do the opening narration.
Okay, yeah. So the Gibb family is introduced with whoever the manager is, and then we see like the kind of a-hole that is Gibbs and the Mrs. Gibbs and stuff like that, and then we'll roll into narration. So let's go ahead and do the narration real quick.
Ooh, my part.
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Franklin Gibbs, 3 days and 2 nights, all expenses paid at Las Vegas Hotel. Won by virtue of Miss Gibbs' knack with a phrase. But unbeknownst to either Mr. and Mrs. Gibbs is the fact that there's a prize in their package, neither expected nor bargained for. In just a moment, one of them will succumb to an illness worse than any virus can produce, a most inoperative, deadly, life-shattering affliction known as the fever.
Oh man, what a way to start an episode with a narration that is very 2021.
Got a fever, and the only way to cure it is more cowbell.
Exactly.
I got a fever. I cannot do Christopher Walken.
I can't either.
I got a fever, and that fever is more space pants.
Face pants.
Yes.
Okay, so this episode kind of, like I said, opens up with we are in like the weirdest built casino ever, because they come down the steps of this door that looks like it was made out of plywood. It's the same set. I think it's the same set of a lot of other episodes. They come down, they're introduced to the manager who offers, like, congratulate him for winning whatever prize. And they Mr. Gibbs is an angry man. He's very a little abusive to his wife, I guess you could say.
Yeah, more than slightly.
Aspects, a little, but Mrs. Gibbs is an ecstatic woman. She's very excited to be there. And the first kind of mistake that they make, which I don't know if is a production mistake or there's something off about this episode, is they have unlimited credits for the casino.
Saw that too.
And as we're going to see later on, I don't think that's a thing that they really delivered on.
Yeah, no.
Did you see that? Yeah, it was really weird because I've done the check thing before, and I'm pretty sure if I'm given unlimited credits, I'm going to be not giving checks to the casino. But we'll talk about that. But this episode takes place in two locations: the casino and the bedroom.
Also, outside of the window.
Yeah, well, yeah, outside the
road or parking lot or whatever
the studio lot that is Paramount.
Indescript concrete slab.
Yeah, exactly.
With everybody walking away.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Mr. Gibbs is a very religious oriented man, because he talks about how Vegas is immoral. It's a miserable waste of time. But he somehow says, "Hey, go enjoy yourself, Mrs. Gibbs."
Oh, but it's done with such a oh, well, you go enjoy yourself though, honey. This is your vacation. I mean, the dripping sarcasm.
Yeah, but he's like, I want you to enjoy your vacation, honey, but it's a miserable, terrible waste of time.
And then when she goes and tries to
gamble.
Yeah, every time she turns around, he's like, "Hey, woman, you're not supposed to be having fun. Get that quarter out of that machine." It's like, good Lord almighty.
Get your hand out of that, showgirl.
What the hell did you expect them to do in Vegas, by the way?
I mean, you know what's funny? I have a distant cousin who looked at Vegas and called it a pit of sin and villainy. I was like, yes.
That's exactly what I go for, this sin and villainy.
Oh yeah,
and the great shows and the strip club cards that the on the strip give to you. Those strip cards.
Yep.
Those good stuff.
Can we jump back to the opening narration real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
He says, she won by virtue of Miss Gibbs' neck with a phrase. I don't know if they ever explained this, or maybe I'm just dense and not picking it up. What? How did she win?
So basically, what they would do was, like, you could win by if you could complete so many phrases. If you ever saw like A Christmas Story, where he was able to answer all the questions and then he sent it in and he got the leg lamp.
Like that. I got you.
It's sort of in that realm of or provided a phrase for like a marketing campaign or something like that. It could have been anything in that realm. So that's
more common then, or something.
Yeah. Oh, it's very common.
I'm sounding like I don't know.
That's okay.
I think I'm the oldest person here too. I should know that.
I watch a lot of as we've established, Nick hates 30s movies, but they happen to be like that mid-century is really my thing. So I get it. Seen one of the movies with that shit in it.
Yeah, fuck them 30s movies. 40s, great. 20s, 30s, you.
You too, Dan. I mean, oh, for sake, Nick. God, anyway.
I mean, that's the power of this episode.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the sets in this episode. They are literally low. It looks like they had no budget, because this is the 27th episode, which actually puts it close to being the end of the.
Yeah.
What was it?
17.
No. It's the 27th episode recorded.
Oh, okay.
So I think they were starting to run out of money here, because the sets are like really low class compared to what they're used to using. And I don't mean that to be like in a negative. They're like low class individuals. It's like just low, like it's terribly built stuff. I mean, the way
fancy.
The casinos, it's the beds they probably got out of the dumpster somewhere because they had no money for beds anymore.
They picked them up from like the dumpster of a hotel that was renovating because of mold or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys see the door leading into the casino had like a little chain lock on it? What the hell was that about?
To keep the riffraff out.
I know.
Yeah, they were open 24 hours a day though. Why would you have a lock on the door? Oh, that we're being robbed. We're being robbed. Quickly put in the security effects. Okay, sir, the chain's on the door. Great, they'll never get in.
We're being robbed. Chain the door, Ethel.
I can't. I got pudding shoulders.
That's for the next. It was actually for the next episode they were recording where it was a house.
Yeah.
They just like had the chain on just for saving time. But it's just really funny because like she said he's giving her the permission to go do something, and she goes to a machine. She walks around kind of because a woman. This is the weirdest thing. I know this is probably at the time, but the woman wins like $1,000 and she's just given a basket of money. Like she's at a church or something like that. And she just takes over her friends. Like nobody's going to rob her. I'm like, man, what a time to be in Vegas, with gangsters and, Bugsy and stuff like that. And, just like here's a basket of money.
That was like the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, basket of money, like she's a parishioner or something like that. So
I did love in this episode you talk about like the sets and stuff. All of the slot machines used had to be acquired through the LAPD because they were illegal. They were slots that were confiscated from people, so they used all these off of a set or for the set. But then they had cops that had to constantly come and check them, so they weren't like taken off and used in other ways.
They actually felt kind of like those old registers that you would see in like
Westerns. They totally look
like that's what they look like. But they look so cheaply made. Like how are you gonna like mistake this for something you're gonna be able to use illegally? That is really weird. But
it did look cheap as shit every time they were like rolling around. I was like. How many rolls is that thing going to get? How many pulls of the handle is that one-armed bandit going to give?
I think it was the tables that they were on too. Like they seemed to be really rickety, but I think that was just the tables they were on more than anything.
Yeah, because those things are heavy as shit, so there's no way that thing would have lasted on that table. But
although the slot machine in question had chicken wire going across the front of it to hold the money in. And maybe that was a thing where it was like they mocked it up to make so you could see the money, so it was more appealing to like Franklin when he came to do it. I don't know, but
this is the early version of Circus.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Gibbs puts a nickel and Mr. Gibbs like berates her again. She kind of walks away and he pulls the lever, or she pulls the lever and she wins money. And all of a sudden you start seeing Mr. Gibbs start getting like the fever, the kind of addiction. And
that was the drunk guy.
Yeah, she didn't.
Oh, that's right. She wins the money.
Was like, I'm not very lucky, am I? And I was thinking, no, you're not, because you're married to that asshole.
Yeah, exactly. It was the drunk guy at the thousand. Yes. Yeah,
the guy with the weird voice.
Oh my god, I love that guy so much. I was hoping he would come back.
Fella, come and pull the lever right here. Do it for me. This old lady's calling me. I gotta go over. Fuck. What's with the voices in this thing?
And he gets hooked quick. I mean, you can tell from the moment he wins that money, he's like, oh, where the story's going. There's no surprises. Well, I mean, there's not really supposed to be any surprises until that we see what happens at the end. But the only scary thing about this episode, and Mr. Gibb takes the money. He's like, this is money for like I wrote it down. But this is money that's like not used for proper purposes or whatever.
It's immoral money.
Yeah, immoral. Thank you. And
before you get there,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, but before you get there, right when he, she plays I'm Not Lucky and all that, and I think it was when the guy told him. I think it was after he won the money that the drunk weirdo guy had him do, and they talk about going back up to the room. He makes a comment that I don't know. It was just throwaway comment. He says he wants to go upstairs. Come on, let's go upstairs. He says, I want to shave before dinner. The fuck? Who? I don't think I've ever just been like, hey, I need to shave before dinner. What was that like a normal thing in the 60s? Hey,
maybe because it was fancy. Like they're going to a fancy restaurant, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's not like it was scruffy or anything, or I didn't see it. It was low quality.
One thing I noticed.
280i.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, like as we go along, as he does the things that he does later on in the episode, he does seem like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow. So maybe he's an obsessive. Maybe one of his things was just like he needed to be clean shaven, and because that's kind of shows like his progression.
So he like shaves multiple times during the day.
Yeah.
Come on,
possibly.
Dolores, I gotta shave before lunch.
I gotta shave them pudding sides.
Pudding shoulders. Come on, pudding shoulders.
Pudding sideburns.
Yeah,
I gotta
exactly.
shave before lunch. We going to bed tonight? Gotta. All right, baby. You want me to shave before bed, don't you?
I need you smooth, baby.
Franklin Gibbs needs some fucking CBD oil.
Dude needs to remove the stick from his ass is what he needs.
He needs a big fat spliff.
Yeah.
Well,
dude needs to get laid.
Yeah. He needs to do something. But what makes it so funny and also terrifying is what happens to Franklin Gibbs, his character, and he goes up to his room after he leaves. After he wins the money, you see him starting to become an addict. That's when he says like the immoral and dirty money and stuff like that. And they're in bed, and all of a sudden the voice comes into Franklin's head, which he's starting to lose his sanity, become an addict. And he's like, Franklin, the coins are shaking or whatever, and he gets out of bed fully clothed. Like he's already.
Yeah, that was odd.
I'm like, I guess, sure, you're fully clothed. I guess you're in the midst of going back down, and his wife wakes up and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I gotta go put this money back in the machine, this dirty money, this immoral money." So he's gonna feed the money back in the machine. And he talks about immorality or morality or whatever, which I guess is what this episode is about. Is morality.
He was already ready to go down there. He was waiting for her ass to fall asleep, and then she got caught. And she's like, "What are you doing, Franklin? Is everything okay?" And he's like, "No, baby, everything's okay. Just go back to bed. It's okay."
Can I just add as well that the things like, and it brought up for me, and I know this is kind of off topic, but like the things done in the name of quote unquote morality by so many people that claim to be like moral authorities absolutely blows my mind all the time, I mean,
I'm the most moral person you've ever met.
Moral oral.
Oh God, don't get me started on that fantastic show. Oh God. He goes back down, and that's the end of Act 1. That's when it goes to commercial. So
for Ovaltine.
Drink your Ovaltine. Go take a potty break. Find the lost city of gold, all that good stuff. But what did you guys think of the first part of this episode? Did you laugh? Did you cry? Did you want to go gambling in the 50s?
Your money would be worth more.
All I could think about going into the commercial break was just a couple of minutes earlier, that creepy ass Finn voice, because this episode really was just kind of like, whatever. I like the two manager guys in the beginning, how they were
they were awesome.
Oh, we're super excited for you to be here. And they look at him and he's like, and they're just like, okay. And beyond that, though, everything else is just like, okay, obviously he's going to get addicted and it's going to go from there. But then that creepy ass voice comes around and it sounds like the Ted Danson zombie from Creepshow. And I was like, yeah, that's been creepy as hell. But beyond that, I didn't really take much from it so far. I was just waiting for the second part of the episode that I'm sure was just going to blow me away, just blow me out the window.
I'm not. Jacob is staring, and I'm kind of not sure what to think.
Oh my God. What did you think of the episode? What did you think of that first part there?
I've seen this episode a ton, so I knew it was coming, but I don't know, like the voice always gets you, like, because it is that it's actually, and I know we talked a little bit about this beforehand, but the combination of kind of the money dropping and that really super creepy voice, like it was a cool combination of stuff. Like it felt a little bit inspired to do that, to go that route, to actually have it call to him and stuff. So
the one inspiring thing in the show, the episode.
And the two manager guys at the open talking about, we'll make sure that this gets put in your home paper. And all I could think was, can you imagine if they came from a town that was super moral and like, Mr. and Mrs. Gibbs went to Vegas, a pit of sin and villainy. Like that just, that's what I got.
Yeah, no, this is kind of going off, not joking. I have a huge gambling problem. It like you do think you're hearing things calling to you, and it gets really disturbing. The thing about this episode is I understand what happens to him in a very common sense, but it's done with such almost like cheesiness in a lot of ways. It almost kind of makes fun of people who are gambling addicts, because he's like yelling at his wife. We're getting like, it's in the second part, but he's like yelling at his wife and he's abusive, and it's like he's being called by some supernatural entity, and everything looks cheesily done. And that's why I don't like this episode at all, because it just, that's kind of where I'm going to leave it off being serious. But it's just like, it's a crazy ass addiction that you can get yourself into. And
was it trying to? That's the thing. Is like were they trying to
I don't know,
corny, or like, because I know that the whole idea,
I think it was trying to be serious, but
it came from Rod Serling, a trip he had where a similar thing happened to him, where he was having no luck and he got mad at the place. So is it him trying to do a commentary on, you know, gambling addiction and how these machines can make people feel? Or was it him just giving a fuck you to just casinos and gambling in general? Because in that case, I could see where if he was just trying to give you, it wasn't really coming from a genuine place of, hey, I want to explore how it makes these people feel and react. It would have been more heightened and more kind of just, you know, come across as possibly even a little offensive to people that have been through that in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get offended at all by that shit, so I'm not worried about it. I just, no, I get what you mean. Like, it's one of those things you deal with, like an addiction of any sorts, and you go through and you deal with life and move on, and then laugh about an episode where a guy gets thrown out a window by a gambling machine. So it's it's good times.
One other thing too with this, you know, like a lot of Serling stuff, you kind of get one of two kinds of characters. You get those sympathetic characters that you can kind of relate to, and they're human and all that stuff. And then you get the people that are either like super good or super bad. You know, there's really not a lot of middle ground between those two. And like from the start, he is a bastard of an individual. So I don't think, you know, he would have been the kind, I think just as much showing hypocrisy as it is anything, you know, oh, well, I wouldn't fall to that. You know, how dare you? I think it is talking about gambling, but it's also talking about like people on their high horse, and, you know, you hold other people to this standard, but you're not holding yourself to that. Because even when before he, like when the drunk guy gives him the money, or, you know, sticks some money in the slot, he's sitting there and he's like, well, you know, I can control myself. I'm like all these, you know, all these beasts around me. I mean, he is so derogatory towards everyone around him. I mean, I think this is, as much as it talks about gambling, I think it talks more about hypocrisy.
Yeah, being on a high horse and looking down on all the peasants when you're no better.
Exactly. I mean, that's that was my takeaway from it.
I think you're right. I think there's definitely some of that, or a good bit of that in this, especially with his character. I think it's talking about the gambling side of things, but I do think the actual commentary probably would be less about the gambling and more about, because if you think about it, it doesn't really, I mean, the whole thing's about gambling, but it is more, I think there's more nuance in him walking around talking about how he's better than everybody else in the room because he can control himself and he's not one of these destitute, you know, pieces of shit in this room, when he looks like he's having the least amount of fun out of everyone in the entire city.
Right.
And he's the most uptight, and he falls victim to it as well. So
and harder than everybody else. The other thing is too, I think if you're going to have a gambling, he does massively. But I think too, if you're talking about a gambling story, and not that it quite follows that exact same thing, and I can't think of the episode title, but the one with William Shatner where he takes on the little the fortune teller booth.
Nickel and Time or something like that, and I'll look it up.
But if anything, I think that one probably relates more to gambling. Like, the thing is, in the end, he had the power to listen to other people and walk away. And I think if anything relates back to the journey of someone that has that kind of addiction, I think that one probably more relates.
Nick of Time. Yeah.
I don't know. That would be my thought on the subject. Yeah. I mean, like I say, the gambling definitely is a huge part of this, but I don't think that for as much as they're talking about gambling, I don't think the moral of it relates back to gambling as much as the hypocrisy aspect.
And once again, like I've said, it's in every single episode. The mirror is very, very important in the stories that show you, because it shows you your true self. Like there's always been jokes and stuff like that about how a mirror shows you your true self. If you were to look at yourself in a mirror from another person that looked like you, wouldn't recognize yourself, that type of thing. So getting into the second part is pretty straightforward. Well, as straightforward as it's gonna be. For probably half the second part of this episode is just Gibbs on a slot machine getting more and more unhinged, more and more losing his shit because he keeps losing money. I go back to what we talked about earlier, and I'm like, they give him a limited credits, but is this like a all you can eat food bar where you only have a certain amount of unlimited credits and then you give him checks? I don't know what was going on here, but he cashed like 5 checks in this entire second half. And
he kept talking about their money, like their money.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I need to win it all back," which you know what addicts do, and so like gamblers do because I've done it. I was just laughing because I'm like, he has unlimited credits, but he's having to write checks that is, you know, his ass can't bounce or cash or what is that?
He's writing checks his ass can't
cash.
Yeah. So he's going more and more in debt. The managers are just looking on like, man, this guy is just losing his nuts. And I mean, it's pretty, like I said, it's just a guy going more and more, losing it, become more and more an addict, yelling at his wife. He's at the casino for like 24 hours, as it said later. Did you guys kind of like fall off the boat with this at this point, or are you guys already off the boat? Like, I mean, where did you guys feel when it came to this part? Because it was just like, it was like 5 to 6 minutes of just him gambling.
Yeah,
Dutch angles.
That part was not that enthralling. I mean, I get that they were trying to get across the whole he's been here for a long time, but we didn't necessarily need to spend that entire long time with him.
No.
And I wanted to say at one point that either the floor manager, two of the employees are over there, and he's like, he's been at this for 5 hours straight. I'm like, damn. And on the same machine, if he hasn't won on a slot machine in 5 hours, he really does have the worst luck of any human being on earth. Because he's
asking for water.
Yeah, like he's got to pass out and all that. And honestly, I thought, because I knew it's going to be a twist of some kind or something's going to happen. And I honestly thought he was going to stop or be pulled away or whatever. And then somebody was going to walk up and just like put 1 coin in and hit the jackpot. And I was going to laugh my face off if that's what happened. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. But I really thought that's what was going to happen. That was going to be like, you know, maybe they pull him away and he'd finally be like, okay, I'm going to stop. And then somebody's going to walk up and just be like, bloop, blang. It's like he would like lose his shit again. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Instead, we got something
much more fun.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah, much different.
One thing about it, you didn't expect it.
No, I did not. I did not expect it.
Sure didn't. But he calls his wife a shrew. He tells her she has miserable luck. It's inhuman, the machine. It teases you. It holds out promises. Then Mr. Gibb continues to lose more money, which I thought was funny. Triv, I kind of cut you off. What did you think about this section? I mean, you've seen this episode a billion times, so you kind of know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, did it make good? Anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that I appreciated the fact that they didn't go to the same shots. Like, they did a fair amount of interesting shots, and the pace of it did pick up a little bit to kind of reflect the frantic nature of what he was going through. But yeah, it definitely did go on for too long. And I don't know, the story is so simple and so straightforward.
It's like they're padding it out.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. Like it felt like it was one of those things where it felt like, and I know it's only a 25-minute episode, but I feel like it could have been told in half the time.
Yes.
You know, I don't know.
Everything, especially that whole part where he's like gambling all his money away or whatever away, that could have been done. So you could have cut almost all that out. I think that we already got in like 1 or 2 shots. We already knew that, okay, he's addicted. We know what's going on. So everything that came after that was just useless and pointless. I mean, nothing changed for like a solid 5+ minutes. We just watched this guy gambling over the course of the night, and we gained nothing from it that we didn't already know. Okay, he's addicted to gambling. Now we get it.
Right.
I think I've seen Rod Serling write before, just stories where he actually condenses stuff like this down. But like you said, the padding is almost like in your face how much he's like, you know, he's in the writer's room with his like all, you know, male writing room. He's like, we're gonna bash, you know, have this woman be like a sympathy character. We're gonna have this guy be a jerk, but we need to like have him pad out till we get to the crazy scenario at the end. And it's just like, I feel like I'm just like, is this, are you trying to make me bored? Are you trying to make me like want to stop this episode? I mean, I don't know.
I would have rather had them half that part, cut half of that out, and extend the batshit crazy end part out, where we get like some running
Like
down
Coke
hallways
ending.
from this thing, like
Yeah.
with like Vertigo-esque visuals and stuff.
But even the end part, like where even that felt long. It's like, he'd run over here in the thing, went over there, and
it's uninspired.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. And I'm sure it could have very well been, like we said, it could have been a case of money and budget and stuff, but they could have gone to like, she pulls him away finally, or, they say, sir, the machine needs maintenance or whatever, and she like pulls him away to, to the buffet or, to a show or something, but he keeps like, bugging her. And there's ways they could have shown that addiction part, because Rod Serling did talk about how this was inspired by an experience he had to not expand it. And again, I'm sure budget played a huge part of this, but
you got to wonder if did like of the times, like laws and stuff like that, because there were laws really got involved with like making of shows and movies and stuff. Were there certain things that were more taboo? Was gambling and stuff like that more like in detail gambling?
It was illegal.
Taboo. Well, yeah, I know, but like in LA where they were making this, and where it took place in Vegas, which I guess it was still legal there, but was it like more taboo to talk about these things and to show them on screen? Would the network have been like, oh no, you can't show the gambling, this isn't a gangster film?
You couldn't show like you couldn't like Hays Code. I'm trying to think what it was for TV. It might have been the same thing. Like you had to show couples in single beds. You couldn't show, you never saw a toilet flush. You couldn't like talk down to folks that were in the military, cops,
they have to wake
things
up
like
fully
that.
Clothed.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. As far as the gambling thing, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there would have been no glorification of it. So maybe there was something about like they saw like his going to town on the machine as glorification. They very well might have.
Well, I mean, he puts his last coin or dollar coin or whatever in the machine, and of course it doesn't twist down for him. And then he like has the strength of like 12 men. He's able to knock that thing on the ground, and they like carry him out screaming. And you think they would like actually be kind of cool if like the ending was like him in a padded room, and that's when like the addiction stuff comes in, like with what we're gonna talk about in a second. But he's pulled out screaming, and then that's when they actually pick up the slot machine, and that's when they put the out of order sign on the machine. It's like, oh, we made all this money, but now it doesn't work properly, so we're going to put the thing on the machine. It's just like, good Lord Almighty. He's been doing this for 24 hours. They've made their money off of him. And
I do wonder though, like, and like at that time they didn't allow, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but like with comics, they wouldn't allow things to be shown. Like you couldn't show drug addiction. You had to be very subtle in the way that you did stuff. That might have been why they didn't go whole hog on the addiction part of it. I mean, they didn't even refer to, I don't think they ever said the word gambling in there once, did they?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
And maybe that's a moot point, but I'm sure there was probably something in there of, oh well, we can't, I mean, that balance of marketing and
did they even consider gambling addiction a thing back then? I mean, you got to think some things just weren't in the lexicon of of the world at that point. Did they consider it an addiction, or did they consider it the devil telling you
mental illness
or an illness or something that they need to drill a fucking hole in your head?
I'm sure there was, like you say, there was the thing about, a moral person doesn't spend their money in frivolous ways. You don't throw your way of money. You don't throw. So it was probably, if you dealt with this stuff, you didn't, it wasn't called an addiction, but it's a thing that it was immoral to do, because that money could be given to the Lord or to, protect your family or whatever. But
I'm giving my money to the almighty slot machine.
There you go. Different terms, but same general meanings, I suppose.
Yeah, who knows? It's one of those things that we'd have to kind of look up laws and whatever those things are called, the statutes of the 1950s. Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. 6,000 pages of statutes from the 1950s. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go into the ending of this episode. So Clearly Mr. Gibbs has lost his shit because he's like wide-eyed open. He looks like he could be in a padded room at this point because he's been taken away. We get the constant calling of his name. We know it's coming from his mind because she can't hear it. She has no idea what's going on. You know, the idea of being super addicted to something, this is really a really potent thing, but it's played for laughs, to be fairly honest. I was laughing my ass off. Like you said, Jay, got the creep show moment when you could hear like the rattling the coins or they're doing the gurgle and stuff like that when they're coming out of the water and taking down Leslie Nielsen. Yeah. But he goes and looks around the room and then finally hears it from the front door. Opens the door, pan up close on his eyes, pan around, the slot machine staring at him.
And it's got a smile.
Similar to Mega Corporation. Yes. Yeah, Mega Corporation. And it's like lighting up and it's making noises. And he closes the door and she's like looking at him weird, stuff like that. He closes the door and it's in the room. Then he opens the door again. It's outside the door. It's moving. I'm assuming they had a pull string on it because it was very light, as like an effect. So they were pulling it. It was like moving towards him and shit. And he comes in the room, starts coming close to him. He looks on in horror and falls to his death by falling out a very fragile window, which I didn't know windows could break that easily. But sugar
fall
glass
through shit. He crashed through it like in an action movie.
Yeah, it's true.
But he barely touched it. He touched it and then exploded out of this window to a 2-foot drop.
Yeah.
Landed in an anonymous parking lot. One other thing too, like when he got pulled away from the slot machine, he says, "It owes me $1. It owes me $1," because it breaks halfway through. And that is, it's like, it owes you several dollars if you want to look at it from that perspective.
All I could think about was the kid from Better Off Dead. I want my $2. Was that Better Off Dead? Yeah, that was Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the newspaper kid. Maybe that's just my weird mind.
But to kind of finish out the episode, so Mr. Gibbs is like, he's like angled like this, tongue hanging out and shit. And like these guys are coming up and they're he's probably like laughing his ass off like when he's filming this, but he's laying on the ground, glasses everywhere, and like the medic comes up and the manager comes up and there's like a crowd around him. And he's like, "What happened to him?" "Oh, he was, in the casino for 24 hours. And I'm like, "Okay, the stretcher will be here in 10 minutes." And they all just kind of walk away.
And just
walk away as Mrs. Gibbs is screaming in horror. They just walk away. And then a quarter like rolls towards him. And then we see the machine. And that's when we'll talk about the closing narration in a couple of seconds. But so he's killed by his own imagination, I guess is the easiest way to put it. But I was laughing my ass off so hard because one, the slot machine looks so weird and like terrible looking. It looks so cheap, and it's like lighting up with the certain mega corporation's smile, and lights are everywhere, and it's like shaking like R2D2 and stuff like that. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I truly was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I have to go and hug Rod Serling, even though he's dead at some point in my life, because he just made probably the perfect ending for a Twilight Zone episode I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't mean that in a good way. It was just ridiculous and stupid. And I laughed, and I appreciate that, because sometimes you need laughter in your life, even if it's terrible. So What did you guys think of the ending? Did you guys think it was as funny as I did? What was your overall thoughts?
I loved it. All I could think was when the silver dollar rolled into his hand, it's like, here's your change, you filthy animal.
I was honestly, that part in the room, I appreciated what they were trying to do, what they were going for. I don't think they quite met the concept of what they were going for, though. And even that part started to get a little bit long. I was like, okay, how many times is he going to turn this way and it's there, turn that way and it's not, turn this way and it's over there now? But then as soon as it focused on him backing up towards this window, I was like, he's going to fall out of this window, but there's glass in it. So I don't know, maybe it's going to swing open. No, he's just going to like explode out of it. Like Neo just, Sparta kicked him out of a fucking window. But
or he's like the guy in Airplane. He just jumps out the window.
And all that was missing from this, because I did that part right there, I was like, oh, I was laughing my ass off too in the last like 60 seconds of this episode. But all that was missing was a Wilhelm scream when he fell out. That would have
That would have been awesome.
They need to edit that in. And also the fact this wasn't missing, this was there. When he fell out of the window, it was clearly like the bottom of this drop was like 1 foot under the camera or the off screen. He fell and you see him stop. He falls off and his feet just go, he goes, and his feet just kind of stop on screen and then he like pulls them off real quick. I'm like, that's the best you
for
got.
his slippers to fall off. He's like flying in the air or something.
Yeah, I was like,
He pulls his foot up.
That's the best you got. You guys just first take. How did they not see that? Somebody had to have seen that and been like, how about we get another take on that? It's just a guy going backwards out a window. Why not? No, they were like,
the window.
We ain't got time for this shit. No, I think that because at that point, I think the window was broke. Like when it shows that angle, they may have like thrown some shit out on it or something. I don't know, but I feel as if they could have reshot that one scene there, and it wouldn't have been much better, but it wouldn't have been as funny. But I guess I'm kind of happy they didn't, because the rest of the episode was not that great. But that part didn't make it. He falls out, and then it shows him like 24 floors below, and like Nick said, all I can think of when they're sitting there around him talking, they're all just so nonchalant, just like, hey, what happened to this guy? We're all around this body. Nobody covers him up. Nobody does anything.
He's literally at the end of the episode, just like,
yeah. He looks like the Joker in the end of Batman, just no blood. And like, yeah. And then they just, including his wife, everybody just walks the fuck off. Like they walk off and he's just left there in silence on the street or parking lot, wherever he felt, just a body. I was like, what the f? They just left this guy. And I don't even know. I think, Nick, you had mentioned that they said that the ambulance was on the way. I don't even remember hearing say that. They may have said it. I'll take your word for it.
They said the stretcher is going to be here in a couple minutes. And
all
I can say was he probably died of a broken heart.
Oh, yeah.
All I nobody gave enough to even hang around after he's dead or cover him up or anything.
See, this is what happens when you're an asshole. You get treated like
fucked.
All I could think was, as people walked away, and all of a sudden there's a thing on the screen that says, and nothing of value was lost.
Yeah, that's true. He was a dick, but still, just left the body on the street.
And the bodies hit the floor, and the bodies hit the floor.
But that was an interesting episode, and entertaining for the wrong reasons, ending to an interesting episode.
Agreed.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same thing, but I appreciate your candor there, Jacob.
Oh, when I just say something's interesting and that's about all I have to say about it, that's usually not a good thing.
Maybe you should watch Vanquish. You'll probably find it very interesting.
Very, very interesting. Ruby Rose is in it. She's an interesting individual.
Wow.
So that's pretty much the episode. Like I said, it's something. I'm telling you that much. But let's do the closing narration to end this episode.
Mr. Franklin Gibbs, visitor to Las Vegas, who lost his money, his reason, and finally his life to an inanimate metal machine, variously described as a one-armed bandit, a slot machine, or, in Mr. Franklin Gibbs' words, a monster with a will of its own. For our purpose, we stick with the latter definition because we're in the Twilight Zone. Not a good closing narration, in my opinion.
No.
Nah.
It should have gone, Franklin Gibbs was a total bastard who deserved to die. His wife stood by, doing nothing to stop him, nothing to help the slot. In fact, the slot machine in question had more personality.
Well, I didn't mind most of the closing narration. It's just the last line. We'll stick with the latter definition because we're in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
It's usually more of a, but this is where they ended up or where they're headed in the Twilight Zone. And like
the stretcher was several blocks away.
Yeah.
In the Twilight Zone.
left on an indescript concrete slab where it's waiting a stretcher that may or may not get there because it is in the Twilight Zone.
Franklin Gibbs became a human speed bump in the Twilight Zone.
Oh, so this is where the woman from the last episode hit Franklin going over the speed bump to her ultimate demise.
I like it.
Maybe that's how she hit the pudding shoulders because he bumped over her. Yeah.
His shoulders were pudding post his shoulders were pudding post being hit by her.
Yeah, Lord, it all connects. Fuck the mirrors. It all connects to the hitchhiker. Oh, the slot machine was used in A Nice Place to Visit and the Prime Mover. So
nice.
yeah, so they gotta get some good luck out of that.
Oh yeah.
But
By the way, no good
What's
sayings
that?
for the lexicon this week. The best I could come up with was "the devil with you." I don't feel like that's not. It doesn't stand up to pudding shoulders.
No, it really doesn't. Well,
Or
it's a
yogurt
subpar
shoulders, I think
episode,
is
so
what
what
we
would
said.
you expect? Pudding shoulders,
I mean-
not Jello shoulders, not yogurt
Yeah,
shoulders.
I just like yogurt shoulders, but we'll go with pudding shoulders.
That doesn't
got
surprise me at
shrew.
all. You damn southerner.
True, yeah, true. Pudding shoulders. Hey, pudding shoulders.
Hey, pudding shoulders.
Suck in a puss and the devil with you.
In your dirty money.
I was born under a weak zodiac.
But
All right. So yeah, I don't think this episode is going to rank very high on our Twilight Zone list, but we'll get to that in a minute. You guys have anything else you guys want to talk about in this episode? Like anything you want to throw out there that we didn't talk about or missed, or any final concluding thoughts that you want to talk about?
was
The
this
drunk. Good.
No, I just had a quick question. I noticed it. Was this the first episode that used the traditional Twilight Zone music in the beginning, or have there been others?
It says this is one of several episodes from season 1 with its opening title sequence plastered over with the opening for season 2. This was done during the summer of 1961 to help the season 1 shows fit with a new look. This is also one of 3 season 1 episodes with Morris Constant's theme instead of Bernard Herrmann's over the closing credits.
That's a closing. I swear that the has, because that hasn't been the opening theme, has it? I mean, that's the
No.
traditional theme, but that's what
It
the
didn't
opening
come in
theme
until-
to this one was. It in the opening credit, because I went back and checked the opening credits to this, or the opening, the opening of the show had that traditional nee 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 nee. I'm gonna keep doing that. Because I was like, I think this is the first time we've heard the traditional sound. Because I didn't think it came around until later on, like season 2 or 3.
Yeah, season 2. Well, if it came around season 2, then that would have been like they went over top of the original season 1 episodes, or
I bet
season
that's
1
what
open. So that would make sense.
Let me see if it said anything in the.
Maybe it wasn't like the original
theme.
air or anything, but the copy I have is
Same.
reissue.
Yeah, sorry.
I actually don't think that Bernard Herrmann actually did that version. I think it was Maurice Constant. Maurice Constant was a Romanian-born Frenchman. Actually, was the one who made the was unified by specific interval. The pair of cues trying to Constant was a fine composer. Did not know about his music new use until the series began to air in 1960. So I think it was pretty close. Here it started here, was pretty close. I think he's the one that actually is more well known for that particular version of it.
I just don't recall hearing it from before, so I think this is the first time I've heard it. I'd have to go back and look at the other episodes, but I know that they had a different opening it for a while.
Okay, so with that said, Jacob, you have finally watched a good amount of Twilight Zone episodes. Now you can participate like a you don't
Like a
have
real
to sit
boy.
around.
Like a real,
Yeah, you don't
like a
have
real
to-
Twilight Zone fan.
You can now play with us on the swing set. Do that kind
Yay!
of thing.
I'm only
Jake,
behind
come
2
play,
episodes.
come play with us.
There's
Come play with us, Jacob.
Come play with us, Jake.
I
Come
think in
play
our
with us.
I think in our number 4 and number 13 spots, those are the only 2 episodes I haven't seen, and I'll have those watched by next week.
So so what he's talking about is of course the Twilight Zone lists, the rankings of the Fifth Dimension, the Twilight Zone podcast, and the non-official official list that we are making official, and nobody else can do another list of the Twilight Zone. With that said, Walking Distance still number 1. 4 of Us Are Dying, E16. I have to ask, is this better than the 16mm Shrine? That's where I'm starting off at. I would say, is this better than Escape Clause? And I'm pretty sure we'd all say no on that one.
Well, the devil, the one scene of the devil is better than this whole thing. But I will say that this one was incredibly interesting from the perspective of it. I mean, it was unintentionally hilarious. And for what I do, I can appreciate the fact that it was unintentionally hilarious. But that only gets you so far when you're talking Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I think, seeing as how I've seen 16mm Shrine now, 16mm Shrine was not great, but just from a quality perspective, and honestly, this one drug so much. Yeah, the last 2 minutes of it were unintentionally hilarious and just really out there, but the rest of it drugs so damn much. And 16 millimeter Shrine, while it was very derivative of like Sunset Boulevard, and it drug a little bit too, I think I enjoyed it more than this one, honestly. I know that Nick, I think you hate 16 millimeter Shrine.
Well, I mean, I don't hate 16 millimeter Shrine as much as I hate this episode because
Wow.
Well, okay, then
that's just my honest
here.
opinion. That's why I went to 60 millimeter Shrine, because as much as I laugh my ass off and I appreciate the laughter of this episode, I need good substance in my Twilight Zone episodes. I don't need, if they're doing a comedy episode similar to the season finale, which we'll get to, since we're halfway through the season already, we'll get to in a couple months. But I don't know if you remember the episode, Jacob, but it's the one that breaks the fourth wall, a world of his own. It's about a writer who can like bring things to life and stuff like that, and I
love that episode.
Yeah, and that is comedy used to a great effect, because Rod Serling appears and it's very meta in what it's trying to do. I don't think this is a meta episode.
No.
I don't think this is going for laughter, and I think unfortunately it's way too funny. It actually is a little problematic in its storytelling, and like you said, very, very boring in certain parts. But Triv,
I don't think it's meta, because I've seen the Matrix Resurrections. I know what meta is. But I will say that if the entire thing had been like, even if it was unintentionally funny, if the whole episode was like the very end and just like a laugh riot, even if it was unintentional from beginning to end, that'd be a different story. But it's not. It's just fucking boring for the most part until that last batshit crazy ending. And there's a couple of funny things that the old guy Franklin does, just how he like treats his wife. They're not funny. It's actually kind of shitty. But just because, we're watching a show and it's like, he's just like shutting her down at every turn. He's a shithead, he's a dick. But it's funny to watch.
Yeah, he's terribly written too.
Yeah. And, there's just not much, regardless if it's intentional or not, there's not much entertainment value here until the last 2 minutes. And that's just not good enough. Granted, that last 2 minutes is probably more entertaining than anything that's in 16 millimeter Shrine, but it's only 2 minutes, so I can't really rate it above 16. 16 millimeter Shrine was at least well made. This was not so much. This was an off day. It's a lazy week.
A lazy Sunday.
Yeah, they made this on a Wednesday, or not a Wednesday, on a Friday, I guess, or something.
Yeah. What do you think?
I can see what they were going for. But intention only gets you so far. Again, the padding in this one was it kind of equates to the door that led into the gambling area with the little chain on the door. Like, that's kind of what I equate this whole episode to. My favorite thing about this thing was the random drunk guy, and obviously outside of like the last 2 minutes. And I just looking at the listings, and there are bits of like 13 through 16 where I could see this fitting, but I honestly would put this above 16 millimeter Shrine, just because the outright ripoff from a modern standard, it's such a ripoff. But given what it is, there's more substance, there's more heart, there's a lot more going on with 16 millimeter Shrine. So I think it definitely needs to go below that. But the characters, Gibbs is just a bastard. He doesn't have anything else. That's all he is. Mrs. Flora Gibbs is just, all she is like supportive of her husband, regardless of what he does. Everything is one dimensional, except for the slot machine, which weighs quite a lot and ends up smashing through the guy. That's kind of all I got. So I'd say it goes underneath 16 millimeter Shrine, but above Four of Us Are Dying.
Which one would you watch right now if we said you have to watch one, but you could choose which one, 16 millimeter Shrine or this one? Which one would you watch?
Honestly, 16 millimeter Shrine took me longer to get through, but it has more substance to it. So I'm going to say 16 millimeter. If gun to my head, if I had to watch one right now, I'd say 16 millimeter Shrine.
Well, there you go.
It's tough to kind of joke on based off like what he's trying to attempt, but that last part it gets me every time. And it still is just.
Well, you know what it is? It's like the what is the one? What You Need? the what you need
The
episode,
sped up
like
driving
right,
car.
that whole thing, or like the devil in Escape
Mm.
Clause. You know, it's those little moments that make something memorable. The reason I remember this episode is because of the slot machine calling out for Franklin, and when it, you know, chases him around with the little smiley face and stuff. But I don't think that,
flashes.
yeah, but exactly. And those are awesome, but I don't think it's enough to hold it in the way that the devil or the sped up car is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not gonna disagree with you there on that. So
I mean, where are you thinking?
I'm getting
me personally, I'm thinking underneath 60 millimeter shrine, but we're talking about like a finite level we're getting to where
Right.
you could put it on either side and it still stinks either way. But
Right.
60 millimeter shrine, at least it has an idea about Hollywood and how Hollywood kind of spits you up in a lot of places. It has a consistent tone to it. This goes from, you know, kind of fine to being over the top, and then just going to Monty Python levels of comedian. And it was like the tone just kind of threw me off, and I was like, this is not fun with what they're doing. So
yeah, but
that's
do you guys think it's better or worse than The Four of Us Are Dying?
I'd rather watch this. Yeah, Four of Us Are Dying is one of the worst things of the Twilight Zone. I don't ever see an episode, maybe the Mighty Casey, maybe, but I don't see another episode being this bad, worse than Four of Us Are Dying, unless you guys have.
I mean, I think Four of Us Are Dying has a lot wrong with it. I can still, you know, you bring up an interesting point, Jake. I don't think, I'll go with whatever you guys think, but I do think that Four of Us Are Dying does have more depth of story than what this does. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but like the idea and everything that goes with it, and the filming of that one, and we've talked about that, the filming of that one is so much more. This one has some cool angles. It does some great stuff with close-up shots. It does have some interesting Dutch angles, but the shooting on Four of Us Are Dying is a lot more cool, I guess. Like, there's more to it.
I'll be honest with you. I like The Four of Us Are Dying more than this. I did
Really?
not like this episode. I mean, I'm taking the unintentional comedy of the last couple of minutes and those little few things like the crazy voice and all that out. Because, you know, overall, gun to my head, you got to watch one. Four of Us Are Dying or this. I'm probably going to watch The Four of Us Are Dying, because while that episode it was just all over the place and it didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't connect right. It had so many issues. Technically, it looked like they actually put effort into it. They just, didn't stick the landing. It was like a collection of things that are going on that didn't all connect together the way they were wanting to, but these things that were going on were at least somewhat interesting, or more interesting than this. Like, this has like a huge portion of that second part of the episode. You're just watching this guy sweat and gamble. And it's like you're getting absolutely nothing from it. It is just there's nothing happening. And I think, Triv, you mentioned it, that this is a very simple episode that could have been, I think this thing could have been told in 10 minutes.
Oh, half that. I think it could have been told. Yeah.
Yeah,
this would be a good SpongeBob episode, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I was thinking about that as you were saying, like when you were talking about it earlier. I'm like, this is a perfect SpongeBob episode. Oh my god, this is the worst episode of the Twilight Zone so far. I'm right there with you. If you think about it, The Four of Us Are Dying is terrible, but this one is going for something and doesn't even deliver on what it's trying to go for, outside of just being absolute devastation. Oh my god, it's a SpongeBob episode. Holy shit.
I don't think that Serling had a clear view of what it was he was trying to say when he wrote this. I think it was supposed to be kind of a fuck you to gambling and casinos and those establishments, but I don't think he fully knew beyond just putting a grandiose version of what he kind of went through of becoming, addicted to the gambling during his stay there in Vegas. I think he probably realized through writing it, holy shit, this isn't going to fit 24 minutes or whatever it was. And also, I think he probably was like, oh, there's not enough nuance in this. We're missing that. So what he did was he went back and tried to add in the stuff about the the guy being, all on his high horse and the hypocrisy and all that, but it just wasn't quite enough. It was just
Right.
he didn't go into it with that in mind. It seems like he went into it just kind of it's like a hate right. He like got pissed off at the situation that happened. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you. I'm Rod Serling. You don't hotel or casino. You don't make hot Rod Serlings feel like this. I'm gonna show you." And so he wrote an episode, and then he like came down from his high, and he's like, "Well, that kind of sucks. Let me add some other subtext in here to make it Twilight Zone-y."
Yeah.
But he didn't go into it with that. He went into it just wanting to talk shit about gambling and casinos, and it came off as just. And I'm sure that was very impactful to him when he was going through it. That's probably why it was shot like that, and it showed the guy down there like just trying and trying and trying, because that's probably what he was trying to get across, is like you try forever, and you just get nothing in return. But as far as like entertainment value, we already picked up on that. We don't need to see it again. We don't need to see it for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes or however long it was. It felt like an eternity. And going back to the Four of Us Are Dying, I mean, that one just didn't, each individual section, like the part at the club, the part at the gangster's place, the part with the old man, they didn't really come together very well. But at least those parts, while you're watching them, they were fine.
Yeah.
Watching him talk with the gangsters, watching him in the club, they didn't pay off, but at least this didn't either. But I mean, at least while watching them, I was like, okay, what's going on here? I was intrigued. This one, I was just sweaty old man gambling, and then fucking crazy machine pushes him out of the window.
Nice.
I can't. I'm gonna say right now that's a winning argument right there. I never even thought about that. I hate the Four of Us Are Dying, but yeah, this is worse.
Yeah, I hate both of them. I hate this one more.
Yeah, this is like where's everybody? Then the shit, then the dirt, then the 16 millimeter of condoms that are used, and
oh my god, dude!
The dead,
I don't even know what's going on right now.
And then the rest of the Twilight Zone. So
this is in the garbage heap of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. What do you think, Triv?
I'm okay with moving it down. I mean, like I say, the funny elements of this, if you take those and put them into perspective with what they were probably going for at that point, they do lose the thing that makes them good. And for the amount of shots, like even with the close-up shots that they were pulling, because they did some pretty decent, they did a fair amount of like really tight shots on this one, but they didn't feel well constructed. They just felt like, okay, we need something to convey something. Quick, get a close-up shot. Whereas the shots with Four of Us Are Dying, they felt like they were supposed to be there. There was intent with what they were supposed to do outside of utter chaos. So yeah, I think this one could go last. I don't have an issue with it.
All right. It has taken a turn into the Twilight Zone apparently. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that far of a stretch to call this one the worst though either in the grand scheme. It's,
we're only 17 in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We're only halfway through the first season, so we're getting there slowly but surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
Exactly. So yeah, there we go.
This one definitely had pudding shoulders.
Yeah. Honestly, going into this, as much as I've watched this episode, I didn't expect to have this one be at the bottom. But I mean, and that's what the conversation does. It makes you reconsider stuff, the cheapness of the sets, the padding of this, the way that they were going for intent versus the way that it actually turned out. I mean, yeah. So
it's crazy how when you go back and watch things like now, doing what we do, when you watch things now, you look at things differently. I mean, I think that, if you think something's bad, like years ago when you watched it, now as being someone who looks at movies and reviews them to tell people if, they should watch these things or not, I think we just look at them with more of a critical eye. And if something was bad then, it's probably still bad now. But I do think that you can find more of an appreciation for some things now because of the way that we do critique things. But at the same time, you can find a lot more flaws in things.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I mean, if it sucks, it sucks.
Yeah, no, and that's 100% the case.
Yeah.
Not everything can be, the original Feeders movie. Sometimes you get Feeders too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ghoulies too or something.
Yeah. Troll 2.
Oh my god.
Don't be dropping in on Troll 2. That one's pretty awesome.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 1900.
Hey, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 was pretty fucking awesome.
Garbage Day.
That's probably the best one.
Yeah.
I've
outside
been
of the
seeing that
original.
all over Twitter the past few days or something. I don't know if that showed up.
It's because it's Christmas. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
guy that sells those shirts, and
Oh, okay. I
like
mean, I knew what it was
repeats
from.
that shit a lot. So
All right. So with that said, yeah, the Fever goes into last place at number 17. What a turn!
I don't
was
have
not
a
expecting.
fever, and the cure
No
for it is
cowbells
not
for us
cowbell.
in this one. So
Exactly.
yeah. So number 1 stays walking distance, of course. Number 17 is now the Fever, which takes over 4 of Us Are Dying, which lasted not as long as I was expecting. So
Can I just say, I think from an editing perspective, you just wanted it put at the bottom so you didn't have to move a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you have no idea. That takes me like way longer than it should.
That's
So
okay.
no, I know. But with that said, that'll do it on this episode. The next episode we're gonna be talking about is an episode. Actually, next 2 episodes I don't remember at all, but this next episode is called The Last Flight. It's apparently a time travel episode, which I don't know this episode at all. I don't remember it at all.
That seems real familiar.
Yeah, it's Kenneth Haig and Alexander Skaruby, Robert Warwick. Maybe that's Warwick Davis's father. I don't know. But it's a Richard Matheson written story, so it's based off his book or story called Flight. Yeah, hopefully it will be. So we'll see what happens. It was looks like it'll be interesting. Like I said, I like time travel stories. So, anyways, that'll do it. That'll be the end of our episode, which is season 1, episode 17, which is the Fever. This, of course, is the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. With that said, Triv, as always, I love the pizza on your head. I'm sure that's a fun party gift. Yeah. I hope you have survived the night that is New Year's in the future when we're drunk or whatever. But where can they find your content, your videos, stuff that has made it through into the Hitachi of your life?
Well, you can see me without a piece of pizza on my head on YouTube at Trivial. I can't speak. You can find me without a piece of pizza on my head at Trivial Theater on YouTube. I do random, obscure, and straight up bad movies. I recently just did a collab on Santa Claus the movie with the Another Digital Citizen podcast, and I will have just put out a review of the god-awful 1989 movie Elves, which is definitely worth checking out.
Nice. I can't wait to watch that. Like you said, it should be posted by the time this posts. So Jacob, now that you're in 4K, now that we can see your ugly mug, where can they find your content?
Yeah, you can find me on Jacob Anders Reviews on YouTube. That's where all my stuff goes up. And I am, as Nick mentioned, now I am in glorious 4K, which means I gotta, make sure I clean up, and I can't get on camera as shabby as I used to be because all that detail shows up now. So
You're
I gotta
still a sexy
clean.
bitch.
I try. But yeah, check those out. By the time this comes up, I have no idea what's coming out right then. As of the time that we're recording this, though, you can check out my review on The Witcher season 2, which is fucking badass. If you like The Witcher, if not, probably not. But check out The Witcher season 2 and season 1 while you're at it, because it's got sexy Cavill in it. I mean, what else do you need?
My power wand would be busy.
Oh yeah. Check out that review. I got a copyright claim on it, so I appreciate any views and likes I get. And some other movies that you've probably never heard of. And yeah, all that. Conan the Barbarian, 1982 will be coming out tomorrow, which will actually be like a week prior to this video coming out, so it's kind of irrelevant at that point. Anyway, check me out on Twitter as well at RedDevil2. I tweet things sometimes.
He tweets awesome things.
I tweet stuff. I don't know. Usually stuff about videos on YouTube. So check out all that stuff. Yeah. Terrible outro done.
And to finish this out, you can find me at Movie Emporium, Twitter Movie Emporium. At the point of this video posting, I put all my best ofs and worst ofs of the year. Worst film of the year is, of course, this podcast. No, not really, but the worst of the year will be an interesting one to dissect. So we'll see when that happens. Like I said, it's been a good year for the most part. If you are somebody who doesn't watch the news, but if you watch movies, it has been a good year, as well as Twilight Zone has been a good year with that. Yay. So, guys, can't wait to see you until 2022 when we decide what episode we're going to do, what time and day and week we're going to do next. But as I end this mumbling that I'm doing, we'll see you in 2022 with a new episode of the Fifth Dimension. Peace out, guys.
Happy New Year.
Check out my top 10 and bottom 10 too. Forgot about that because I'm terrible at planning this stuff. And check out Nick's because his favorite movie of the year was The Matrix Resurrection. Bye.
That it was. We have proof. We can bring receipts.
There you go.
This would be the part that if we had a sponsor, we would be like, speaking of shaving, Manscaped or get the new Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaping. Your balls will thank you.
Oh, God damn. I hear that so many times. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was paid to say that.
Glad I'm not paid to say that.
After you've ordered it, you're waiting around with nothing to do. Play Raid Shadow Legends and join my clan.